Hello and welcome to this chess video. I'm FIDE Master Ingvar Johannesson, and in this video we will do two things. First off, we will have sort of an addendum to game 6, and also we will have some instructional material where basically we will learn a little bit about the so-called W maneuver and how to checkmate with a knight and a bishop. The holy grail, so to say. Many people are always wondering about this mate. And okay, first, and this will tie together, and you'll see later why. So first, let's learn about the final stages of mating with a bishop and a knight. So here we have a typical position. The king has been put to the edge of the board, but white knows how to defend, so he has entered the opposite color of our bishop. The thing with bishop and knight, you can only checkmate in the corner of the bishop. So the white king can only be checkmated on a1 or h8. So from a8 we have to drive the king all the way over to h8. Driving the king to the edge of the board is relatively easy. We'll see that later in the video when we have an example. But first let's look at the theory. So the king is stuck in the wrong corner, and let's say it's white to move. Doesn't really matter if it's black to move. We play knight c7 check, but white goes out of the corner, king b8, and now we play knight c7. The first part of the maneuver. This is where the knight starts off. It cuts off the a8 corner. The king can no longer go to this corner. That's step one. Okay, so the king has to go to c8. And here the green arrows outline what the W maneuver is. From here the knight will travel this route, and if you notice the lines, they sort of form the letter W. So that's why this is called the W maneuver. Now the method of driving the king is very instructive, and we're first going to look at like the main line. We started by cutting off a8, and we go sort of square by square. We slowly but surely we drive the king to the opposite corner. So now we play bishop to b8, and now we're covering the b8 square. So the king has to go further in this direction, and once we have forced him to do that, we can now start our W maneuver. So from c7 the knight goes to d5. Okay, first let's let the king go back. That's sort of the cleanest version. The king goes to c8. We continue with the W maneuver. We give a check. King has to go to d8, and now we're covering the c8 square. So first a8, then b8, and then c8. We protect the knight, of course, so that it can continue to cover this important square here. And now the king has to walk into the other direction, into the corner that we wanted to go to. We continue, king e6. We always have to bring our king slowly but surely to help with the mate, because it's always covering important squares that the king can escape from. The king tries to go back, king d8, tries to go back to the a8 corner, but we have it all under control. Bishop to b6 check. Of course, the knight is covering the c8 square from before, and now the bishop is covering d8. So beautiful coordination. The bishop covers the black squares, and the knight covers the light squares, and the pieces work beautifully together. And notice that they work best together when the knight is on the same color square as the bishop. And this is very important in chess, because when you have a bishop and a knight, very often they work together being on the same square. And this is exactly what we saw in the game Carlsen against Caruana. We'll have a little snippet of that later. Okay, but now king on e8. We want to cover d8, so we play a waiting move now with the bishop to a5. Could be bishop to c7 as well, this square. The key is to cover this square. So the king has to go to the other direction, and now we are all set to continue with the W maneuver. Knight to f5, king back to e8, knight g7 check, and now after king f6 covering the knight, slowly but surely e8 square. The bishop just covered the d8 square, so we're moving like one square along the 8th rank, kicking the king around. King g8, king g6, After king f8, bishop to b4 check. King has to go to g8, only move. And now we sort of finish the job, and the king is stuck on these two squares, and from here it's easy to mate. We just have to make a waiting move. Once we cover the square with the bishop, usually you make a waiting move. I like to go further back, bishop to a3. You could also go to any square here. It doesn't matter. King goes to the corner. Now our knight is ready to move. And we just have to move it to a square where it can access the g8 square. So I go to f5. King g8, now knight h6 check. Remember, the bishop is covering this. Now the knight is covering this. King has to go to the corner, and finally, you got it. Checkmate. I like a long distance checkmate. The bishop was on e7 and bishop f6. So yeah, that's the W maneuver. So I know you have, along the line you had some questions like, wait, what if he had gone the other way? Okay, first we looked at this one because it's the cleanest version, because we like cover one square at a time, and it's very, very systematic. But there are some deviations, especially here. Our last move was knight to d5, starting the W maneuver, and notice the squares that the knight will go to along the way. And they went to all these squares in our main method. If the king goes the other way instead of king c8, if he goes to e8 now, we still finish the W maneuver. This is like the scariest version because it looks like the king might be escaping. We play king d6. We want to protect the knight to continue the W maneuver. If he goes back to d8, we just play knight here, and we're back in our main line. But let's say he continues running, which looks scary. Now we play knight e7. And what are we continuing? W maneuver, correct. King tries to run. And this looks really scary. It looks like he's escaping, right? But this is the beauty of the W maneuver, and also the beauty of the pieces working together on the same color complex. So bishop to e3. And notice the yellow squares covered by the king, the red squares covered by the knight, and the green squares covered by the bishop. The king can't go any further, it has to go back. And we just keep going. King has to go back, f8 or f7. Here I like king e5, and then the king has to go up. We go to e6, and we can continue as if we're in the main line. King d8, and we play bishop here, covering this square. And once the king goes back, we're back in the main line. And once he starts running, we just finish the W maneuver like this. And yeah, we've seen that before. So this is the W maneuver. I'm not gonna make it, I might make a video later where we have like, yeah, full details on this and an alternative method. But for now, this is the method. So I want to go to the game Carlsen against Caruana, game 6. So we're gonna set that up, just a moment. Okay, here it is. The key position from Carlsen against Caruana. And he didn't miss mate. You know, people have been making a joke, oh, he missed mate in 63. Maybe it is mate in 63, but he missed a win. Nobody's gonna calculate a mate in like Skrillin moves. So if you like entering a winning endgame, it might be mate in 36, but you're not calculating that. You know you're winning. But okay, enough with that mini rant. So this is the key position, and as everybody knows, Caruana could have won with bishop to h4. So I'm gonna add a little bit to the explanation why that is winning. So first off, we didn't really discuss the move h6. So it looks dangerous, but it's all under control. And this is the main reason why the position is winning. It's because of the positioning of the bishop on c4. We can play knight f3, heading for the e5 square. The pawn looks dangerous, but we're just in time. Knight to e5 check. King h5 and king g7. Note that king to h6 here. We play bishop g5 check. King has to come back, and now we bring our king, stopping the pawn, and we're attacking the bishop. And the key thing, if we go back, to king h5 here. The key thing, okay, black is attacking our bishop, but the bad positioning of the bishop on c4 enables us to play king g7, stopping the pawn, and he has to move his bishop or else he is lost. Okay, so the main move was considered bishop to d5 here. Other moves like bishop a2, well, we will simply play knight e2. Our knight is coming to f4, a very strong square, and you don't really have a choice. I mean, if you play a waiting move like bishop here, I'll play knight f4, I'm hitting the pawn, so you have to keep it, but I give a check, and now I win the pawn. So h6 would have to be played here, but I play knight here, king has to keep an eye on the pawn, bishop g5. And I will simply win this pawn. Your king, it can't move really, and eventually I'll maneuver my knight to e5 and then win the pawn. Because from e5 I can go to g4 and just attack it. So the main line was considered to play bishop to d5 here. But then this, well, alien-like maneuver of the knight to g1. And we go to g1 to attack the bishop. The bishop has two choices, either to go to d5 to cut off the white king, or to g4 to cut off the knight. If it goes to d5, we have to look at that yesterday. But then, yeah, pretty similar to the other line. Our knight will come alive. And this will actually be very similar to the other line, bishop g5, king h7, knight e2, we're coming to f4. And the problem for white is that you can't really advance this pawn without bringing the king back here, but then you allow our king to cover the pawn. So we can simply maneuver a knight to g4, like in the other line, and now if you go h7, I go to e5 and bring the king. Okay, you can protect the pawn, but I will just maneuver my knight again, hit the bishop and win the pawn. So the absolute main line was then considered to be bishop to g4, but now I play king g8, and this is the key. If I get the king to the corner, your king is stuck going back and forth because you have to keep my knight trapped. We've seen what the knight does if it gets out. So here white has to basically lose a tempo. We want to get this position, play bishop to g5, king g6 with white to move. So to do that we have to triangulate or lose a move. So bishop e1. Note that bishop to f2. I have to plug in my computer. Computer plugged in, we're back. So yeah, it doesn't matter if we're on e1 or here. The maneuver is same. We go here and then like back and forth, losing a move. It could be here to here or here to here. So king g6. We just have to cover the pawn. Doesn't matter on which square we are here. Then we go back, and now we attain our goal. We're stopping the king, and white has to lose a move. Either let our knight out if he moves the bishop, as indicated by the red arrow, or use use the tempo of the h pawn to play h6. But now we play king h8. If the white king moves, our king comes up and wins the pawn. So we sort of have to push it, but now we can repeat the tempo losing maneuver. And again, we can go to e1, f2 or g3, doesn't matter. Let's go to f2 this time. Cover the pawn, come back, and bishop g5. And this is instructive because the bishop can very easily lose a tempo, because we can just go, like instead of going 1-2, we can go like, you know, 3-2-1. So it's very easy to lose a tempo on a diagonal, but the knight cannot lose a tempo. Very, very important detail to know. And okay, from here, white is basically in Zugzwang, has to move the bishop, or if you move the king, you lose the pawn. And this is sort of where we tie together the bishop and knight. If this had happened in the game, we would reach this position. Caruana would have found this amazing knight c1 maneuver, he would have triangulated, and Carlsen would have let the knight in here, and we would have won the h7 pawn. From there, the f5 pawn is going to drop pretty easily. Let's just see a sample variation. King h6. We bring our king to g5. We protect the pawn, and now we maneuver our knight. Bishop to b1, knight to e3. King comes to cover. I like to maneuver the bishop here to e5 to cover the f6 pawn. Maybe not necessary, but from here we simply maneuver the knight to the d4 square. We try to block it, but I'll just bring the king f4, and eventually the knight gets to d4, and we win the f5 pawn. What will happen then? Well, white's best choice, well, probably he would resign, but at most levels white would try to give up his bishop for the pawn. Let's say something like this. Bishop comes back, and now we start moving the pawn f5. And now I guess the best choice is to take and hope for the best. Hope that black doesn't know how to mate. But if you know the W maneuver, and I can assure you that Fabiano Caruana will know the W maneuver, he would have been able to mate with a bishop and a knight. Now you know this maneuver as well, and maybe you can apply it in your own games. I encourage you to practice this method against the computer, and I will show you such a way. But from here, the king is in the center. Let's see an example line. King to e4. The king has to go back. He wants to go to this corner, right? But we just bring our king. And here I always like to just bring the knight closer on a black square. And eventually we will get to our desired position. If you're having trouble on like the 7th rank, you can sort of ignore the 8th rank. Just imagine it doesn't exist, and continue your W maneuver. And imagine you're going from this square, this corner to this one. What would you do? You would play here, right? Okay, remember the 8th rank doesn't exist. King has to go here, and now we just go for the W maneuver. He tries to run. We go here. He goes here. We go here. He runs, but we're in time. And now he is just now we sort of mirrored the W maneuver in a way, and now we got him exactly where we want him. Let's say he goes here. Yeah, we finish the W maneuver. We go here, 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 etc. And from here, we're ready to just be careful not to stalemate. We can go here, here, he goes here, and now we're ready to get the position that we had earlier. Let's say here, here, he goes back, and now something like here. And once we maneuver the knight, we have gotten the position that we had at the start of the video. Maybe not the best way, this was sort of impromptu, but you get the idea. And from here, we just execute the W maneuver. So I will now play a few training games with a computer and show you the method. So let's stick around and set that up. So now I've set this up on good old ICC, or the Internet Chess Club. Okay, this is a rather favorable starting position in a way, because we're very close to the corner. But let's just put everything in the center of the board. So if you get this endgame, start by just, let's say your pieces are scattered around the board. Your first step, simply just get everything in the center of the board. That's what we've done here. Can't make arrows while I'm playing. So okay, the bishop on d5, knight on e5, everything is centralized. So now I want my knight on a light square close to the king. So I'll maneuver it to a light square closer to the king. Something like this. And now we're here. And we know that from here, we imagine that the H file doesn't exist. And we go for the W maneuver. I actually like to do it like this. And he's actually helping us. Now we can just bring the king. It's actually a little bit simpler. And now he's in the corner. So from here, we just have to maneuver the knight. We could put it here. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's just do that. And here. We're cutting off this square here. So okay, now the king, the knight is cutting this square. Remember that. We're just going the opposite way from the original stuff. So now we play bishop here. And now we can start the W maneuver. King here. W maneuver continues. Looks like he's escaping, but we're just in time. Here, here. Remember how we cut him off. You can go back to the front of the video to see that. But now he has to go back. We go here. Knight is covering f8. Now the bishop covers this. And now we just continue the W maneuver. Czechoslovakia. King here. And I go here. Cut this one off. And I have to play a waiting move. And now I give a knight check and this bishop check. So 30 moves. So let's play it one more time, but this time let's do it a bit faster. And okay, I'll just centralize some pieces. Remember that. Let's bring this to the center. And yeah, let's just go here. Bring the king. Eventually here we bring the king. And he goes to the corner. He's not making this very difficult for us. We go here, here, and give him a check, a waiting move. Here we cut this one off, and we start the W maneuver. Here he starts to run, and we just cut him off. He goes there, cut him off, waiting move, W maneuver, finish the W maneuver. King comes over, bishop here, and we bring the knight. And I like to go way back here, give the check, and bishop G7, checkmate. So this is how you mate with the bishop and the knight. I'm sure Fabiano would have been able to do that. Please leave a comment if you like such addendums, and I'll try to add more content like this. Stick around for some tactics, non-World Championship tactics. Just we'll continue from our regular videos. The World Championship series will be separate. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.